Hi, I'm Laurel with Laurel Buys Houses, and today my guest is Tonya Nygren, who's an attorney that we use quite a bit in our practice, and I wanted to have her speak to us today. So, hi, Tonya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Now, you own Tonya Nygren Law Offices. Is that the name of your company?
The name of it's Nygren Law Office.
Nygren Law Offices. Okay.
Yep.
I thought I had that wrong.
That's okay. Everybody does.
So today we're going to talk about foreclosures, kind of the process of it, and then what to do if you've been wrongly foreclosed upon. Okay. Or if the bank won't talk to you and there's some kind of strange situation going on. So I'm going to start off with just, what does it mean if my house is in foreclosure or foreclosure process has started? What does that mean?
That means you're behind on your payments, and you're usually 3 or more months behind. And the bank usually starts and sends you a letter and says, hey, we're going to put you in the foreclosure process if you don't make contact with us, figure something out. One of the options, they will work with you sometimes to modify your loan, get you into payments that are more reasonable, a lower interest rate, but it's not a given. You have to qualify for that loan. You have to have income sufficient to meet the loan requirements. So if you do nothing and you just sit there or you can't qualify, the bank will move to the next steps.
Okay. Now, when you say qualify, I mean, sometimes I see people are like $50,000 behind on their payments. Mm-hmm. How does that work? And what to say if I wasn't working, now I am working, I could make a reasonable payment, but I can't pay that $50,000 I'm behind.
Right. So many times what the bank will do, there's various banks that do various different kinds of programs. Sometimes the bank will put that at the back end of your loan.
Oh, so let you pay on it longer?
Correct. So they add it back in, give you different terms, maybe a longer term, but you can pay it off over time. Some banks almost there used to be some government programs, some other banks that they'll give you almost like a second. So you have to make 2 payments.
Oh, okay.
But again, people have to qualify. They have to be able to make these payments. So if you couldn't make them at one point, but now you're employed and you can make them, contact the bank again. They may work with you.
Now, I run into people who think they're in foreclosure and how do you find, but they're not. How do you find out if you're actually in foreclosure?
If you're actually in foreclosure, the bank has to file what they call a notice of default on your home. And they have to record it in the county records. So it's a document that's recorded against the title of your house. Go to the county assessor's office in whatever county you live in, and you can look it up by your property address and you will see it. If that's the case, don't sit and do nothing, because the bank, if you do nothing, then they're going to, down the road, they're going to turn around and file a notice of sale to sell your house. So the best way to know is don't necessarily call the bank to find out, because the bank will say, well, yeah, you're in foreclosure. Well, you might not be. They might be just telling you that because it started in their system, but it hasn't started the legal process.
Right. I know I've had places like where the house was vacant and the family was trying to figure out what to do, where the bank will send in and change the locks and winterize the house and stuff. And they think the house has been foreclosed on. How do you know? And the house hadn't been, there wasn't even a notice of trustee sale against the house yet, right? Where, how do you know that? Is that, again, you can look at the county records?
Well, you mean the bank went and did that work?
Oh, yeah. They do it all the time.
Yeah, they don't have legal rights to do it at the time.
No, they have the right to preserve. It's one of the clauses in most mortgages is they have the right to preserve the asset if they think the asset's been vacant or not being.
Well, is it vacant though? Is it occupied though? They can't just come in when it's occupied.
Not if it's, no, this is a vacant.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell me about the timelines here in California, because that's where we are. Right. What are the timelines on this?
So the notice of default, once that's filed, the notice of default gives 90 days before the bank can try to sell the property. So in that 90 days, you should be making contact with the bank to try to get the modification of the loan. If you can't get a modification, let's say you don't qualify, then what you should be doing is contacting Laurel to buy you out or to purchase the property from you, because you're going to lose equity if it sales at the trustee sale. What it does is in 90 days, the bank is going to file a notice of trustee sale, and that's going to give you a sale date, which is, about 3 weeks or so away.
Mm-hmm.
That is an auction of your property on the steps of the courthouse. So you can't wait till that day. You need to make some kind of resolution before that trustee sale occurs.
Right. So that kind of gives you like 3 months, 3 weeks is the minimum time before the bank can take your house from the notice of default.
Correct.
Right. And the banks that when they put out a notice of default can happen, I think, even after you're 30 days late.
It can. Every bank's a little bit different. It's 30 days, but it varies. Some banks will wait 6 months. Some banks will wait 2 years. Some banks don't wait. Mm-hmm. So in the times of COVID, they couldn't do much. So foreclosures weren't, as prevalent because they couldn't evict anybody. So now that's different. So banks are tending to be right now very aggressive. Very aggressive.
They are. I've been noticing that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And people can't ignore this. I can't tell you how many times. I mean,
they call you a week before the sale.
Yeah. And I can't. If you call me before the notice of trustee sale, I can usually do something. Mm-hmm. But if they call you, you need time.
Right. Well, and I mean, sometimes you can contact the lender yourself to ask for a postponement, but you got to have a reason. What are you doing that's going to want the bank to postpone? Right. Mm-hmm. But it gets tricky, when you have deceased parties.
Yes. And that's where I bring you in all the time, especially like reverse mortgages.
Right.
Or someone's passed away and nobody's been making the house payment, and nobody actually has, well, you tell me all the time, nobody has the legal right to speak to them at this point. Right. We need to get emergency powers to talk to them. Some banks will talk to the relatives, some won't.
Correct. And I'm finding more and more aren't. I don't know about you, but I'm finding more and more right now, they're not wanting to talk to anybody.
Right. They won't even give us the payoffs and stuff. It's
right.
Crazy.
Exactly.
I just had to bring you in on one where they wouldn't give us the payoff when we were trying to buy the house. So it was crazy.
Right. Because somebody was deceased, and that was crazy.
Right.
Yeah, we just want to pay you off, but we have to jump through hoops and how many days just to get a payoff to pay them.
Right. And one of the things and I don't want, always we're available for questions, especially by email. But for me, I kind of wanted to talk. What your specialty is in the foreclosure world is the wrongful foreclosures, where the bank didn't do what they were supposed to, and it got sold at the courthouse steps, and now the person's been cheated of their house. That's where I know you excel in making those banks give it back when there is an actual wrongful foreclosure, right? Correct. Tell us a little bit about that. That's kind of fun and interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, so the banks, more often than not, if they don't get paid their money, they have the right to foreclose. But there are things in the law, the Homeowners Bill of Rights, that requires that the banks work with the property owner to modify a loan. Well, if the banks don't put an honest effort into it, or they change parties too often, and then you fall through the cracks like a lot of people can, then they can be held liable. But you have to have a little more meat than that. Also, I've had clients that actually paid back $50,000 they were behind. Dump 401k accounts, pay it back, and the bank foreclosed anyway. That's very wrongful, because they should have started the foreclosure process all over again from the beginning, right?
Right. If they accepted any payment, right?
Full payment to get the past due amount, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the bank can drop the ball in a variety of fashions, and that's where I step in. I don't handle loan modifications to try to keep people in houses. I just step in when there's an actual wrongful foreclosure case. So I'm very choosy about those kinds of cases because it's a lot of litigation. I mean, you're going up against big banks and they throw everything but the kitchen sink at you.
Right. They don't like to admit they're wrong, right?
Right. But
I've heard of all kinds of things where they promised to do a modification. They said it was in the mail, and then they trust deed sailed it the same day. Stuff like that.
right.
Banks
Right.
can be sneaky,
They
or
can
not
be
know what one hand is doing, the other is doing.
So
right?
my best advice is document everything. Don't throw away the letters they send you. When you talk to somebody, get their name, the phone number you called, the date and time, and if they won't give you more than their name, get their employee ID number so you can track things back because they record these conversations. So,
Now, if they're recording you, can you record them?
Not an area of law I practice, so I don't know that.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I can't answer that one. I'm not sure. And that's an ever changing. I think there's exceptions to certain things, and I don't know what they are. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, this is supposed to be 10 minutes, and obviously I could talk to Tonya about this topic forever, and we're already like at 11 minutes something. But hey, thank you so much for being on the phone with us. All right, so here I am showing my age, the live stream thing here. And so if someone has a foreclosure, they should email you at nygrenlaw.com.
They can. Again, it's more of if you've had it, your house has foreclosed. Again, if you have somebody that's died and there's a foreclosure, that may be a probate. Those we do all the time.
I know you're very big on probates and trusts.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I know that's a big part of your practice, and then the mortgage part is kind of the other part of your practice. So really appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah.
Don't wait, people. Please. Find a resolution. Don't wait and think it's going to go away, or the bank's going to magically decide not to do this. It's not how it works.
No, and people need to know the property values are going down, and the banks are going to be more aggressive when that's happening.
Yeah. Correct.
And so kind of they were happy to wait while your property was going up, but as the property goes down, they're not going to be as happy to wait.
Correct.
Or if we get into a recession, they are not going to be as nice about this. So don't wait.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Laurel.
Thanks. And give us a call at 916-476-2381. If you know that the house is in foreclosure, you're not going to be able to make the payments and you want to save some of your equity, please give us a call and reach out to Tonya with any probate matters or any wrongful foreclosures. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.